Okay. At long last, we're here. Power to the people. All right. So as everybody comes in and has a seat, there is always, of course, it's not very exciting, but there's housekeeping stuff it's not exciting, but it is important. I am told that it is important to turn off cell phones. It somehow interrupts the live stream, which we do not want to do. So turn off your cell phones, please.
Is it off or just down?
Off. Yeah, that's what I was told, off. Okay, everybody's coming in, sitting up front, filling up seats in the front, please. All right, so our programs are on the way, and they will be here this evening. So before we leave, our printed programs will be here. Our hashtag, I know I just told you to turn off your phones, so when we have a break, and you can turn your phones back on, our hashtag is UNAC 2017, of course. The information table is in the back, should you have any questions about anything. This is a not fun thing to have to tell you, but there's no food served here. You can't bring in food. You can leave here just across the street, a couple blocks away. There will be food, but there won't be any food on the premises. The conference website has meal information. Also, there's a lady out front. There's a list of nearby places where you can eat. Phone number. Write down this phone number. This is the UNAC number in case you have a question or problem with anything. Area code 518-227-6947. 518-227-6947. Tomorrow we're going to start bright and early at 9 o'clock. We are, of course, people are still arriving. We're being a little flexible about time tonight. There's no flexibility tomorrow. We start at 9 o'clock, so be here before 8:59. And speakers, we are going to be ruthless, unless you want us to come out with the big hook. It's 8 minutes. Very strict, okay? All right. So, now that I've gotten that stuff out of the way, we are all here together at this very, very critical time for us. This is an exciting time. It's a challenging time. Today I had I'll just be frank, a lot of different feelings. And I should not have been surprised, but the officer who shot Philando Castile was acquitted today. But a couple days ago, Reverend Edward Pinkney was freed in Michigan. He is a free man. And that is wonderful, wonderful news. So we have a lot to talk about. Apparently Amazon is buying up all our food. Amazon has purchased Whole Foods today, so we have billionaire rule. We are in the belly of the beast, but that's okay, because we know it, and we're going to fight against it. So we're all here today. Here in Richmond, we've come from all over the country and from outside of the country. I know there's someone here from Hungary. Where else? What other countries? Philippines, Canada. Serbia, Canada. Where else? California. Colombia. Very good. Okay. First, I want to warn speakers. This podium moves, so you can't lean on it. All right. As I'm figuring out. So we're all here together tonight. We are going to get started to talk about many important things and to come up with action plans about war, stopping the wars at home and abroad, the obvious definition of war, the dropping of bombs, the dropping of drones, the war against people. I mentioned the war of police against the American people. The war of the environment. Everyone makes a big deal, and should, about Trump withdrawing from the climate agreement, but the climate agreement wasn't so hot anyway. So the world is getting hotter, and the climate agreement allowed that to happen. So we are going to cover a lot of ground tonight, and we're going to get started with some of our greeters. Now, this list is in, just to let you know, our first speaker will be Joe Lombardo, who is co-chair of UNAC. And then we're going to go in alphabetical order, in case anybody wonders why someone spoke before someone else. It's all alphabetical. All right, so there shouldn't be any questions. So I see Joe Lombardo there, our co-coordinator of UNAC. Give it up.
Well, thank you all for coming. I really want to welcome everybody that is here. I'm going to speak very short because there's a lot of speakers this whole weekend. And it's important we listen to each other, talk to each other, learn from each other, teach each other. The anti-war movement is in a low ebb. Although all the polls show that the majority of people in this country are against war, the anti-war movement has not really seen the kind of fuel to take off like some of the other movements. Part of the reason is because war is a bipartisan issue. It's a Democratic issue and it's a Republican issue. They both like war together, but the majority of people don't like war. And that's the contradiction that will eventually bring us to the point where we will win. And that's what's important. So there's a lot of workshops this weekend on things like how to build the anti-war movement, because everybody's asking about these questions. But the theme that we have is ending the wars at home and abroad. This is a theme that we've had since the very beginning in UNAC. At the very first UNAC conference, which was held in Albany, New York, at the end of that conference, we marched the entire conference, this anti-war conference, to a local mosque and held a rally at that mosque. It was a mosque that has been under attack, and some of its leaders and members had been put in jail. But we understood that the so-called war on terror had a domestic component. And the more and more we thought about that, that whole domestic side of the wars came out with the militarization of the police, with the shootings that we've seen, and not one damn cop has gone to jail. Not one. The wars are very much associated with the climate issue. There's no money for workers in this country. Everybody's facing austerity because they have money for war. They want to cut Meals on Wheels. Well, they want to up the budget. Well, we want to change that priority from top to bottom, and that's where we're here. So let's come out of this conference stronger. If you are an organization that's not a member of UNAC, please look for me during this weekend and join UNAC. We want to build a coalition that's going to really turn things around. So thanks again for being here, and I look forward to meeting all of you this weekend.
Okay, I forgot to give our, Joe stayed within the time limit, but just to remind our greeters, it's 3 minutes maximum. Our very first greeter after Joe is Bahman Azad from the U.S. Peace Council and the Hands Off Syria Coalition. I've had the pleasure of getting to know him better these last few months. handsoffsyriacoalition.net, I believe I'm getting the website right. So we've done a lot of great work there, and Bahman is going to come and tell us a little bit about that. Bahman Azad.
Surprise to me. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to greet all of you. I'm very happy to be here with all the people who genuinely believe in peace and justice. I want to be brief about the past developments about Syria that led to the formation of the coalition that we created. Last year, we sent a delegation, U.S. Peace Council sent a delegation consisting of various, several groups, peace groups, including UNAC, to Syria, and they met with a lot of people, this civil society and the government people and the religious leaders and all that. And it was a great achievement. They even met with the president of Syria. But when they came back, the whole group and the Peace Council that organized it went under heavy attack by a lot of people from all corners. So we decided that we do not want to be left alone. So one of the first people I contacted was Joe, my dear comrade. And we discussed the question of getting some peace organizations together on the issue of Syria. And that's how the whole thing developed. The Vice President of Veterans for Peace joined us. We had people from Black Agenda Report, International Action Center, and a few others. And we created a core that organized Hands Off Syria Coalition. We came up with a Points of Unity statement, which I'm sure a lot of you have seen already and signed. And the response was tremendous, and it led to support of about 250 initially organizations within the first 2 weeks, and 500 peace leaders, and globally about 1,500 people signed on to it, and we're hoping to get more support for it as things become more critical in Syria. And we're going to have a workshop on it, which I hope many of you can attend. Thank you.
Thank you, Bahman. And I want to introduce a comrade I have not met yet in person, Cassia Laham. Nice to meet you.
Thanks.
And so, let's see, who is next? Ajamu Baraka, the Ajamu Baraka of the newly formed Black Alliance for Peace. Vice presidential candidate for the Green Party in 2016, Ajamu Baraka.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that warm greeting. Thank all of you for making this journey here to this very, very important conference, this very important gathering. It is indeed a pleasure to be here on the eve of what I believe will be a historic event. You know, the conditions are ripe for what we are trying to build here in this country. You know, and we have a responsibility to, in fact, respond to these conditions and to build the movement that we know we can build. You know, one of the things that we have to remind ourselves as radicals and revolutionaries is that the way we seize the time, seize the opportunity, is to make sure that we have been stilled in our commitment to engage in protracted struggle. That we are still in our understanding that we are in fact on the right side of history. That no matter what may have happened over the last 8 years or so, we are not going to allow those conditions, those experiences to cloud our analysis of what the future holds for us. We are at the eve of a new movement here in this country. It's quite clear that the people are ready. The question we have is, are we ready? I believe that we are. I believe that this gathering this weekend is going to help to solidify that commitment. And I believe that this conference, this coalition will be able to lead the way in building the kind of principled, anti-war, anti-imperialist movement that we have to build here in this country. Now, as part of that process, we have embarked on a new endeavor. We are attempting to build the Black Alliance for Peace, which is a new formation that is committed to reviving the traditional anti-war position of the Black community, of the Black liberation movement. We believe that that's critical if we're going to be able to build an anti-war movement here in this country. So this attempt to build the Black Alliance for Peace is part of that process of reviving the broader anti-war movement. But make no mistake, while we are a peaceful people, and we believe in peace, we understand that there could be no peace without justice, and that means we have to fight for justice. So my friends, take this weekend to get to know one another, to recharge our batteries, and to know that together we indeed will make history, and we will build the kind of world that we have to build. Thank you.
Thank you, Ajamu. Our next greeter was to be Brian Becker, who is not here, but he has sent greetings, which I will read. On behalf of the Answer Coalition, which stands for Act Now to Stop Racism and End War, we send our solidarity to the UNAC conference and all of our anti-imperialist comrades who are gathered this weekend in Richmond. We are standing at a critical moment in U.S. and world history. Regardless of which personality occupies the White House, it is completely evident that there exists a fundamental consensus within the imperialist establishment, the Pentagon and the surveillance state, that U.S. global strategy will emphasize the centrality of military force and organized preponderance violence generated by the U.S. state apparatus as the key to maintaining U.S. domination in world politics. This aggressive posture is not accidental, but rather reveals the organic and malignant character of late-stage capitalism. The expansion of NATO, the demonization and witch hunt against Russia, has nothing to do with Russia's supposed assault on U.S. democracy, which is not based on actual facts, but rather reflects the bipartisan imperialist consensus that the U.S. must knock down or tear apart any government, large or small, that functions as an obstacle to the absolute hegemony of U.S. imperialism. Our movement must reject the demonization, great nation chauvinism, and extreme racist propaganda that is designed to prepare public opinion at home for more aggression abroad against targeted governments and targeted populations. And that's from Brian Becker of the Answer Coalition. And next up, Bernadette Ellorin from Bahman, USA, and the International League of People's Struggles. Bernadette.
Good evening, comrades.
Good evening.
As students of history and as anti-imperialists, we know that in 1898, U.S. imperialism was born when the U.S. monopoly capitalist system was able to acquire direct colonies through wars of conquest and acquisition. That was Puerto Rico, Cuba, and the Philippines. And since 1898, the Philippines has remained dumping grounds for surplus U.S. products, source of cheap raw materials, including cheap labor, a stranglehold for U.S. militarism, war and occupation, and covert CIA operations, and also is the home of one of the longest running armed revolutionary struggles for national liberation against U.S. imperialism. That being said, Bahman is here because as anti-imperialists seeking the liberation of our own people back home, it is our duty to assist in the liberation of other people's struggles against U.S. imperialism, because we have a common enemy, brothers and sisters. We have to build the anti-imperialist united front around the world. And now at a time when the imperialism has generated an unprecedented level of crisis, there's an unprecedented level of crushing poverty all over the world, an unprecedented level of displacement and hunger and plunder and environmental destruction. There's also an unprecedented level of resistance and revolutionary struggle all over the world. And we have to let the people here know that it's happening outside of our borders. It's also happening within our borders here in the US. Every day, people are struggling against the impacts of US imperialism here in the belly of the beast. And it is our job to identify those struggles, to link and raise them to the global struggle, because it's all one struggle. So I'm going to teach everyone here a chant from the Philippines that was popularized during the time of the Vietnam War, because the the U.S. bases in the Philippines were used as a launching pad and refueling station for the U.S. invasion of Vietnam. So basically it means imperialism down, or shut it down. So if you could just repeat it after me. Bug, sak. That means down. And then I'll say imperialismo, and you say bagsak. So imperialismo, bagsak. Imperialismo, bagsak. Imperialismo, bagsak. Imperialismo, bagsak. Maraming salamat. Thank you.
Baksak. I want to say that to a lot of people and a lot of systems. Did I introduce myself? It suddenly occurred to me. I don't know if I said my name. Sorry about that. I was such a hurry to read instructions and everything. I am Margaret Kimberley from Black Agenda Report and from the UNAC Administrative Committee. Sorry about that. Our next scheduled speaker, I do not know, so I'm not Tamara Hansen. Yes, she is here. Tamara Hansen is from Vancouver, Mobilization Against War and Occupation. Tamara Hansen.
Good evening, everyone.
Evening.
My name's Tamara Hansen. I'm from Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, and I'm here as a founding member of Mobilization Against War and Occupation, MAWO. I'm also the coordinator of Vancouver Communities in Solidarity with Cuba. Bloqueo no! Bloqueo no! Bloqueo no! Bloqueo no! Bloqueo no! That's right. Thank you, sister. Thank you very much. I want to thank all the organizers from UNAC for inviting me to give a greeting this evening. We flew in from Baltimore today, and as you can imagine, the drive here was a little bit difficult. A lot of traffic, a lot of construction, but we're really happy to be here for this important conference for the United National AntiWar Coalition. During our drive, we got a notification about Cuba and about the fact that Donald Trump announced today that he is rolling back the gains made in the reestablishment of formal diplomatic ties between the United States and Cuba. And to that we say shame.
Shame. Shame.
Thank you. Thank you, that's right. And we have to recognize that, of course, this isn't the first US government or administration to go on a campaign against the government of Cuba, and it is not the first US government administration to impose unjust sanctions and hostilities on neighboring countries. However, we know that since September 2000, we know that this drive for new sanctions didn't begin with Donald Trump. In our argument and our ideas from Vancouver, we believe that much of this began in September 11th, 2001, when the US government and US ruling class began their warmongering rampage across the so-called Third World. Mobilization Against War and Occupation calls this time, since September 11th, 2001, the new era of war and occupation. This campaign has included direct military interventions in Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, Syria, Yemen, Bahrain, Palestine, Pakistan, Somalia, Sudan, and Mali. It has also included funding of malicious regime change organizations and sanctions against the Ukraine, Russia, Iran, North Korea, Cuba, Venezuela, Brazil, Bolivia, Ecuador, and the list goes on. These attacks on poor and working people abroad are also matched by the brutality of their war against poor and working people in the United States, Canada, and other imperialist countries. These come in the form of racism, austerity measures, and attacks on our human and democratic rights to stand up for ourselves and fight back. To understand the importance of coming together this weekend, we have to understand the impact of this new era of war and occupation and how it is impacting people all over the world. From access to basic rights like clean water and housing, to the destruction of all hopes for the future through the bombing and poisoning of the lands and its peoples. It is clear that the independence and self-determination of oppressed nations is a big threat to US imperialism, a threat that imperialism is determined to stamp out through this long epoch of ever-expanding wars and occupations. It is the only way they know how to solve their economic crisis, to continue robbing the wealth and dignity of oppressed peoples. And without united action, there will be no end to this war machine. I wanted to include a quote by Albert Einstein, who said, "Remember, the world will not be destroyed by those who do evil, but by those who watch them without doing anything." And that reminds us of the importance of why we are here coming together this weekend. Because the world has had enough. Because the world can't take this war and occupation any longer. We will not sit by as the US and its allies continue to destroy humanity and our planet. We have come to Virginia to work together with people across the United States to recommit ourselves in unity and building a stronger anti-war movement, to defend the rights of all oppressed nations at home and abroad to self-determination. It's an honor to be here with all of you this weekend and be able to spend this time getting to know each other and getting to broaden our struggle to work and combine our efforts in a united front against war, imperialism, and injustice. United, we will win. Venceremos.
Thank you. When I asked earlier about people from other nations, I know there's someone here from Colombia, and she's going to be our next greeter, Charo Mina-Rojas. And let's see how my pronunciation is after all those years of Spanish. Proceso de Comunidades Negras en Colombia. How was that? All right. Charo Mina-Rojas.
I was measuring myself from there, see if it's gonna work, but I think.
You want to sit here? You want to sit? You can.
Okay, here is better. You see, you gotta work it out for next time. Muy buenas tardes a todas y todos. From the Black territories of resistance in Colombia, in the name of the Black communities process in Colombia, the organization I'm proudly part of, in the name of the National Council for Peace. It's an honor for me to be here and to bring these greetings from my people to the national, I need to read it. The National AntiWar,
UNAC.
I'm sorry, the United National AntiWar Coalition. As I learned the acronym, so now translate the acronym take me a while, but also salute the creation of the Black Alliance for Peace, which is at this moment is very important. I want to bring the greetings from my people to you, revolutionary sisters and brothers here present, and also bring the recognition and respect to the memory of those whose lives have been taken through centuries of struggle for self-determination and freedom. And as you know, we have been in Colombia in this quest lately for peace. a peace that decided to be built, not discussing the roots of war, and particularly our territories, indigenous and Afro-descendant territories. These roots have to do with the economic neoliberal policies that are imposed in these territories, and now this peace process, although have brought an agreement between the main guerrilla group FARC and the government, still is a process that is looking to enhance and impose these economic policies in our territories. And I hope to share more of this with you all during these few days. So it is very important for me, and as I say, an honor to be here and be able to share with you the experiences of building conditions for real peace. We understand that that peace cannot be built up if we don't discuss issues like economic issues, if we don't discuss these neoliberal policies that are encroaching and taking away our territories. They are killing the people on those territories. If we don't understand that this is a war against the people that there to contest and to confront these economic interests and these economic policies, is greedy interest in territories like the lands of indigenous and Afro-descendant people in Colombia. And if we don't discuss the racism that is involved in that process. So it's a great honor for me to be here and be able to share with you, and particularly to learn also from you, from your experiences, and this struggle for self-determination and freedom and construction of worlds that at some point will be free of war and violence. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. I have an apology to make. I was looking at an old list, so I skipped over someone. Jess Jude from the International Action Center. Jess Jude. My apologies.
Sorry, I'm not cool. I haven't memorized what I was going to say. Hi, folks.
Maybe better.
My name is Jess Jude, and I'm here representing the International Action Center, and I'm also a member of Workers' World Party, living in Durham, North Carolina now. I have to say I'm really thrilled to be attending my first anti-war conference with UNAC. Yeah. And that it is here in my hometown, my city, that birthed me and brought me here today. It is this place, the home of the Confederacy, the liminal place between the North and South where white men stomped through our streets with my ancestors' blood on their hands and in their pockets, that has brewed up some of the fiercest resistors I know. Many of us here from across the South are united in the struggle against the racist right and their Confederate monuments. I grew up under the shadow of Robert E. Lee and Jeb Stuart, quite literally. I'm so honored to share this fight and the collective wins against these imposing relics. And I want to shout out the incredible victory of organizers with Take 'em Down NOLA, as well as as well as the fierce resilience shown by comrades in Charlottesville, Virginia, engaged in a similar battle to remove the racist monuments in their city. I want to lift up everyone who's been facing off with the violent right, the KKK, for our whole lives, but especially since the election of Donald Trump. It's crucial that we as organizers and revolutionaries in the South continue to connect the local struggles that we fight to those nationally and internationally, always centering the most oppressed in the global fight against all wars. Not just the wars that it's convenient to oppose, but all imperialist wars, because we know that the most vulnerable and the most oppressed always bear the impact of these wars fought in the name of capitalist greed alone. War depends on the same racism that fuels itself with the bodies of the most oppressed around the world. This is my first time at a specifically anti-war conference or gathering, yet this fact remains the same in every battle. I'm so lucky to be here. I see folks that I've known and worked with for years here in Richmond, folks that I've met through the International Action Center, through Workers' World Party, and some amazing, badass folks that I've just followed on the internet a lot, who I'm really excited to get to meet. There's something really powerful for me about us all being here with this common purpose in Richmond, Virginia. So I'm really excited that my crew will be presenting 2 workshops as well. Even Bernie Wants to Bomb Syria, Challenges to Anti-Imperialist Organizing Today. Yeah. And Skills and Strategies for Being in the Streets, Organizing Defense and Security Against Trump Forces. So thanks for having us, and I really look forward to building with you all this weekend.
Okay, thank you, Jess. When I asked about people who are here from abroad, some smart aleck, Jeff Mackler, said California. Anyway, so we do have someone from Oakland, California, a longtime labor leader, Clarence Thomas from the International Longshore and Warehouse Union, giving us greetings from the labor movement. Yes. The good Clarence Thomas.
Well, I know a bunch of international shippers and major capitalists who don't think I'm the good Clarence Thomas at all. First of all, let me say I'd like to extend my deep revolutionary greetings to all of you this evening, just arriving from the Bay Area a couple of hours ago. To the UNAC Coordinating Committee, staff, volunteers, conference attendees from across the country and around the world. It's wonderful to be with you again, and especially to see sisters and brothers and comrades that I've met at previous conferences. To those who may be unfamiliar with what longshoremen do, we move the commerce of the world. The cars you drive, the handheld devices, the computers, food that you eat, clothes, the running shoes that you're all fond of, all comes off of a ship. The commerce of the world moves through our hands. Proud member of the International Longshore and Warehouse Union. We're the only predominantly African-American local on the West Coast. But more importantly, we have a long and glorious history of being radical and having a revolutionary character. I just want to read something. ILWU policies and actions on foreign affairs have been built on the belief that international labor solidarity and world peace are the cornerstones of social and economic justice for all workers, including the membership of the ILWU. When Brother Ajamu got up and spoke, and I just want to say, Brother Ajamu, you were the reason why I voted the Green Party. I never voted the Green Party before, but having been familiar with your work and your history is why I did. He talked about Black Alliance for Peace. Long before I was a trade unionist, I was an African American, and I always carry that wherever I go. But I am the personification of what that brother made reference to when he talked about Black Alliance for Peace, because it was in 2003, October, that I was the lone member of an international delegation of trade unionists who traveled to Baghdad to meet with Iraqi workers, to be able to come back and to share the experiences of talking to the Iraqi workers and them telling us how things was worse under the Coalition Provisional Authority than it was under Saddam Hussein, who described in detail how their cost of living had gone down. I came back and I began to organize in my own union. And 4 years later, we were able to shut down all 29 ports on the West Coast on International Workers' Day. During contract negotiations, also faced with a leadership that was very reluctant to confront the employer, who, when we did this action, our employers, the Pacific Maritime Association, filed an illegal work stoppage injunction with the National Labor Rate, what is it? The National, the NLRB. I'm having a little jet lag. Thank you, Sister Jarifa. But one of the things that I was asked to do by coming here today is to underscore the importance of how the anti-war movement needs to be interwoven with the working class experience, working class demands, concerns. I never will forget the first time I ever laid eyes on Brother Saladin Muhammad. We were at a U.S. Labor Against the War meeting in Chicago. And he attempted to bring an amendment to the floor that dealt with the issue of police brutality and murder. And to have many of the comrades there saying, well, Brother Salini, we can't take this up because that's not what we were instructed to do here. It's all about the war abroad. Our position is that there's a war abroad and a war at home. You cannot separate the two. I'm going to close out with this so you can get some sense of the kind of organization that I come from. Just 2 years ago, in the aftermath of the attacks made by the Israeli government on the Palestinian people, one of the largest Israeli shipping companies, it's called the Zimline, came to the Bay Area. The Arab Resources Organizing Committee prevailed upon our rank and file to rise to the occasion as they did during the anti-apartheid struggle, where we refused to load South African cargo for 11 days. For 4 days at Stevedoring Services of America, where that Zimline vessel docked, no longshoreman touched that cargo. You see, all of the marching, all of the resolutions, and they all have their place. Don't misunderstand me. Protest, resistance, can't stop there. Movement building, can't stop there. You have to have economic and political consequences for the 1% if we want to see change, if we want to change the dialogue. And on that note, I will conclude because I got a 3-hour speech and just 3 minutes to give it. So I'm going to wrap it up, but I'll look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. And until then, we have a slogan that was created by the Wobblies, the IWW. Goes like this: an injury to one is an injury to all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Clarence Thomas. And I have an organization name, but not a person's name. Do we still have someone from Fight for 15? Raise up Fight for 15. Yes. And I apologize for not having your name. You can introduce yourself when you come up here. But I think And $15 is minimal, I hasten to add. It's been quite a struggle, but at any rate, living wage would be more than that. Thank you. Yes, it would. Someone says 19. Can I get 19? Can I get 25? Ashley Little.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you all for inviting me. My name is Ashley. I am a leader with Fight for 15 and have worked in fast food for many of years. Most recently, I worked at McDonald's right here on Chamberlain. Despite my experience, I still only made it $7.25. Believe me when I tell you, no one in Richmond more so in this country working off $7.25 at 40 hours a week. If you are lucky enough to get 40 hours a week at McDonald's, can pay the bills, feed their family, much less buy school supplies, and take vacations. You just can't get by no matter how hard you work or how hard you try. However, Fight for 15 is helping me change that. We have helped raise the wage of 22 million workers in this country. Though labor rights are being attacked left and right, we will not back down. Maybe at first glance, folks may not understand why someone with Fight for 15 raised up Virginia and Richmond will be speaking at a war conference, but it's really simple. Some elected officials that voted the minimum wage also increased our military spending. This is shameful. The injustice. This is shameful. The injustice in that I face at McDonald's workers are tired of every social movement in this country. As MLK Jr. stated, whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. Whether it's the labor movement, Black Lives Matter, or anti-war movement, we all need each other. I, along with other fast food workers from Fight for 15, are honored to be with you this weekend and look forward to learning and continue to build towards peace and collective freedom. Now, I want y'all to say this with me. I believe that we will win.
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 Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ashley Little. And our last greeter, but certainly not least, is with us from Hungary, and I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly, Matyas Benyik. There he is.
Good evening, brothers and sisters.
Good evening.
Comrades, friends. I'm coming from a country which is a small country, but this country gave quite big names to the world history, to the music, to the literature, to the philosophy. So I am very proud to be Hungarian. But at the same time, I'm very proud to be of a bigger community of the oppressed people, of the workers, because I'm coming from a workers' family. So I know what means to be a worker and what means solidarity. So first of all, I would like to thank you very much to be invited here. It's really a great pleasure. It was a long way to come here, but I think it is worthwhile to be with you and share our experiences the Central Eastern European countries. What happened during this 27 years after the collapse of socialism is very important to see, to hear from those who lived during the time of socialism. And he can compare the present situation to the past. That is one topic I would like to talk about tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. Another important issue is what happened in Central and Eastern Europe, in Ukraine, and other countries, the so-called color revolutions, and what role the United States, and it's very hard to me to say my compatriot George Soros played, So this is a real good experience to share with you, and I would like to thank you again and have a successful discussion. Hopefully, at the end of this conference, we will hammer out a stronger coalition of cooperation, working together, the whole world, for the oppressed people, for their liberation of the oppressed and the people, the poor people, the working people. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. So that is the last of our greeters, I believe. I didn't miss anybody, did I? Okay. So,
I would like to make an announcement, if that's okay.
it sure is. Jaribu Hill would like to make an announcement.
Thank you. Actually, it's kind of a somber announcement. Today is June 16th, and I know that we did not forget Soweto Day. The day in 1976 when our children were murdered in the streets because they stood up against Bantu education, which is what our children have to stand up against in terms of Jim Crow education in this country. And for that act of courage, they were murdered as they ran away from the police. They were shot down, murdered, shot in their backs. Some were paralyzed, some were maimed, and some lost their lives on June 16, 1976. And I just wanted to call it to your memory. I know we've got a lot going on, but making that connection between the war against our children is certainly appropriate today as we gather. And I want to congratulate my comrades, UNAC, on another amazing gathering, 2017 UNAC conference.
Thank you. Clarence Thomas?
Can you come up to the stage and speak into a microphone, please? Otherwise, the people on the live stream cannot hear you.
Oh, okay. So,
Speaking into a microphone in order to be heard in the live stream.
and just until, so we're waiting for Clarence just to have a seat. Jaribu reminded us that this is the anniversary of Soweto Day, 1976 on this date, when young children rose up in South Africa against apartheid.
Two things. First of all, Sister Jaribu, thank you so much for bringing that to our attention. Revolutionaries should know their history. But the reason why I have asked for the privilege to speak, Sister Chairperson, is because it was Brother Leo Robinson, an African-American longshoreman, a member of Local 10, who wrote a resolution in 1977 calling for Local 10 to boycott South African cargo. He was motivated because of the Soweto massacres. So that is the reason why I am taking this time to come to the mic, because it's important for all of us to know this. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Jaribu Hill and Clarence Thomas. So now we're going to take a 15-minute, yes, it's almost 8 o'clock, so 8:15, we're going to reconvene with our first panel, 8:15 promptly, and our panelists will stick with 8 minutes. Any, yes? The programs are in. All right, great. So it's going to be in your program. Okay. 15 minutes, everybody come right back. Thank you all. How are you? It's nice to meet you. So what do you want to do when we come back, since I didn't get a chance?